Hey guys, it's Cash here. I just wanted to go over my lightning rod cast on shock build that I've been running. This I think was made by Jungron before, and I basically just made it a lot tankier. It still does an insane amount of damage, but how it works basically, you throw down Orb of Storms, you shoot out your lightning rods, and your Orb of Storms as well as your Boil Lightning that is cast on shock proc your lightning rods. So this is my setup that I have right now. I'm running Primal Armament, Martial Tempo, Ice Bite, Magnified Effect, and Inspiration in my Lightning Rod. And you can swap out Scattershot if you don't have enough attack speed. But basically, you want a lot of attack speed to keep your Tailwind stacks up. And that's why I opted for a bow with attack speed on it. And that was kind of my highest priority when I was looking for a bow. Because what Tailwind does, if you don't know, it gives you skill speed, which gives you more damage, but also it gives you 10% increased evasion, and this is an evasion ES build, so you want that to have your evasion as high as possible at all times. So I'm at 95, 89% evade. We're not running acrobatics because it is not necessary, and yeah. Anyways, I'll go through the links quick. Lightning Rod, Martial Tempo, Ice Bite, Magnified Effect, Inspiration. You can swap these into Lightning Arrow if you are mapping, and it would look something like this. So this is what my DPS is with Headhunter and Thief's Torment on. There's no Breach Rings or Ingenuity. And basically Inspiration, Heft, Ice Bite, Martial Tempo, and Primal Armament. Let's just put those back quick. Anyways, that's what I run. And then also when you're mapping, you can swap out Grim Feast for Herald of Ice. But while I am in Simulacrums, I run Herald of Thunder. Herald of Thunder has Maim, Lightning Infusion, Innervate, Lightning Mastery, and Conduction. On Cast on Shock, we have Ball Lightning, Energy Retention, Impetus, Lightning Exposure, and Deceleration. And each node on the end is the one that I would take off if I don't have a 6-link. So I would take off Conduction, take off Deceleration. For Wind Dancer, we've just got Blind Support. This is insanely good because it gives you 20% more evasion rating per stage. And for Orb of Storms, we've got a 5-link with Chain, Unleash, Persistence, and Overabundance. For this one, though, I would not recommend running this without a 5-link because every node here is like 100% necessary, so I would run this. Like I said, for Simulacrums, I'm running Grim Feast. If you don't know, Grim Feast can overcap your ES. So when you pick up these little Grim Remnants on the ground, what it does is give you, for me, 172 ES, and your ES can overcap by double. So my ES goes from 2134 to 42, whatever, 68. And that gives me an effective hit pool of 6,000, which is absolutely insane, aside from chaos damage, obviously. Yeah, with this build, I'm sitting at, just standing here, not buffed up, I'm sitting at 93% evade, 86, and the reason it's different is because of Megalomaniac that I have, but this is a good amount of evasion, mixed with freeze, mixed with ES. It's kind of a good all-around. I just realized my cold res is only 74, but that's because I forgot to divine this before I corrupt it. Anyways, yeah, so we are stacking evasion and ES, and I've got evasion, ES, boots, and chest, but I've got a full ES helmet. And the reason that is because I'm running Subterfuge Mask, and this gives you 2 evasion per 1 ES. And if you look here, I go from 1100 to 2100 ES, as well as 11k evasion to 8k evasion. So these ES helmets are absolutely insane. You can get them with lower int requirement or attribute requirements on it if you can't get the 139 int, but you definitely should be able to. Anyways, that node's insane. Also running an evasion ES chest. And this node here, Spectral Ward, gives you 1 ES per evasion. So you can run a pure evasion chest with like 16 or 1800, and that'll give you about 150 ES. But I just opted for this one because it has life and a big amount of ES and movement speed, so it's just really nice. Other than that, we're running Hand of Wisdom in action. You do not need to be a attribute stacker for these to be insanely strong. If I take these off, I go from 38 to 26k, so it gives me about 30% damage for having these on. So if you can fit them in, awesome. If you can't, that's okay. Just run gloves if you need to cap your res or whatever. Run gloves for res. But I would recommend getting at least like 40-50% chaos res, especially if you're farming simu, because Kosis does a lot of chaos damage. For the belt, I'm running Headhunter. People are like, oh my god, it's Headhunter, it's expensive. Headhunter is like 14 div right now, 15 div, which is kind of insane. It's cheaper than Ingenuity. And honestly, for Breach and for Simulacrum, I think it's 10 times stronger. So I would just run Headhunter. If you can't afford a Headhunter or Ingenuity, just run whatever belt you need to cap your reses. For the boots, they're just Evasion ES boots, and they have res and life and movement speed. Amulet. So on either, you need to get at least 50. Yeah, you need to get at least 50 spirit on either your chest or your amulet. I have mine on my amulet, and then I've just got ES, life, dex, all res, and it's basically used to cap my res and get me enough attributes and give me my spirit. For the anoint, I've got Essence of the Mountain. There are a few anoints that you can go. Essence of the Mountain is one. The other one you could go is Subterfuge Mask, because you can save quite a bit of points by going that instead. And then the other one that I recommend that is quite a bit cheaper than Essence of the Mountain is Heavy Frost. This will give you a lot of damage because it ignores Elirez for frozen enemies, and it gives you freeze buildup. For the ring, I am running Thieves Torment all the time in here because it's just so strong. Gives you all your life back, all your mana back, and res rarity. Like, it's just such a good ring. And you can spam your attacks and just be full all the time. So this is 100% necessary, especially for Simulacrum. For mapping, I don't think it is necessary as much because you're killing a lot of mobs a lot quicker that are lower, and you're not just standing there spamming. You're just using your lightning arrow. But for Simulacrum, I definitely would recommend running this. For my bow, it's just a fizz bow with attack speed. You can go fizz and cold or just fizz, but attack speed is super important. For this build specifically, I would definitely recommend running it. And additional arrow is the other second most important mod that I would get on your bow. For my quiver, it's just everything good that you want. Prod speed, damage with bow skills, flat fizz, you can get flat cold, attack speed, you can have attack speed based, crit based. I used to be crit based when I was doing mapping, but I still have quite a bit of crit right now. I have 22% crit right now with 200 multi, so this still does a lot for me. As you can see, because I'm stacking Adorn, I go from 9.3 to 38k with just my quiver. Like, my quiver is more important than my bow at this point. And then I'm running All Rust Resolve. If you don't know what this flask is, basically it gives you guard. Which is basically just a shield that takes damage from the buff before your health. So if you add this all together, I actually have like 6,200 hit pool, which is insane on a deadeye. Like, that's kind of not really seen. But yeah, that's everything for the gear. For my charm, I'm running a stun charm. You can run a freeze charm, stun charm, rarity charm, depending on what you're doing. So for our passive trade, we're just doing the normal, basically deadeye stuff. When ward gathering wins point blank endless munitions. We're running Adorned, and with the Adorned, we've got a bunch of bonus from Quiver, jewels. That's basically it for all of them. And then I've got a Megalomaniac with Evade and Freeze Buildup. You can do whatever you want with them, but that's just what I got. You don't have to run Adorned either. You can just run regular jewels, but you want the bonuses from Quiver to be stacked, basically, because it gives you the most amount of damage. I'm running a Against the Darkness with damages extra cold and fire. Most important mod here is the cold. You can run cold fire or cold lightning or cold anything, but just get the cold because this gives you a huge amount of damage. If you see, it goes from 38 to 27 when I remove it. And also, my cold damage that I get on this goes from that to basically nothing. So yeah, I definitely recommend running that. The nodes I've taken here, big ones are Subterfuge Mask as well as Spectral Ward. And yeah, I mean, this is insanely strong, especially if you have an ES helmet. And everything else is just basic evasion, damage, feathered fletching. This node I would 100% recommend taking, especially if you have a quiver. because if you look at my prowess speed modifier, it's 175%. So what that means is I get 175% damage because increases and reduction to projectile speed also apply to damage. So this is an insanely good node for 3 points. It's definitely worth taking. Coming Calamity, this could actually be probably changed out to something else since I'm only running the 1 Herald. But when you're mapping, you're running the 2, so you get cold and lightning. So it's a good node to have, but it could be swapped out to something else. And then yeah, everything else is just kind of basic. I ran up here to get more jewel slots, but more importantly, I got the heavy frost node, which is freeze buildup and ignore Elirez, and then thin ice, which gives you 50% damage against frozen enemies and more freeze buildup. So freeze is kind of what makes this so strong for Simulacrum. I was trying to make it work with just the ES and evasion, and I was still getting one shot at times. I couldn't figure out why, but the freeze once is like basically as soon as Kosas and Omni spawn, if I'm standing here spamming, they'll spawn, they'll get stunned, and they'll get frozen, and then they're just dead by the time. Like they don't even have a chance to hit me. And in those off chances, there's huge threshold. I might get hit, but most of the time I can still take a hit and it doesn't really matter. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy. I've been streaming on Twitch almost every day, so if you could go give me a follow, check out the stream. You can ask me any questions there. Yeah, and I hope you guys like the build.